Wow, you guys are still here? Welcome back to the Mind Hiking Podcast. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and I can't believe you made it through part 1 and 2, especially part 2. And if you haven't, go check them out. They're a blast. They're super funny. Again, I put out extreme explicit warnings on those ones. This one's not near as bad, so if you're skipping ahead to this one, then welcome. This one's still funny also, but nowhere near as bad. We talk pretty deep and serious in this one. So hope you guys enjoy either way. And if you guys made it through all 3 parts, thank you so much. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I really think it's the funniest episodes that I got. This series I was so excited for. And Zoats, he is a guy that I've been trying to get on the podcast since I started the podcast. And he is very hard to get a hold of, very hard to get up here, and he's a hard worker, and he's a very busy guy, so I really, really appreciate his time, and he's a very knowledgeable person, and we just have a lot of funny history together, and it's just really cool to sit down with him and share these memories. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and all in good fun. And also, if you guys are enjoying the podcast or you enjoyed this series, please give me a follow on Spotify. I love seeing those numbers climb. It really means a lot. Obviously, it's free. Give me a follow on Instagram. I'd really appreciate that. Information's in the show notes. And share this with somebody. If you thought it was funny, share it. I would really appreciate it. I love seeing this podcast grow, and the best way to do that is to share it around, spread the word. So thank you so much for that, and stay tuned. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and here we dive deep into difficult questions. We'll map out thoughts, theories, and crazy ideas for the love of knowledge and growth. So, how do we answer some of the mind's toughest questions? This is the Mind Hiking Podcast.
It's Modelo time, fool!
Dan, Baron knows how to dance.
Yeah. This is an exact dance.
Oh shit, you're making him howl. Yeah, Baron, get it. Zach Oats is back in the house. Oh shit!
I almost got assaulted.
Yeah.
Sexually.
By a dog.
He's like, Dad, they're in here busting it down sexual style. For real, I'm God. Settle down.
Hey, it's okay, buddy.
He's got the face like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill it.
Baron, hey.
All right, let's settle down.
It's okay. I know he was throwing that ass back for you. He gets turned on real quick.
What you got there?
Oh, we need a bottle opener, don't we? Do you have one on your keychain? Oh, thanks. Sorry. Yeah, we are back with Zach Oats here in the house. Got the live studio audience because we are actually. I haven't figured out how I want to release all this recording yet, but we'll figure it out. I'll clip it in somewhere. But
we'll find a way.
We're back. Here we are. You're opening up a Modelo. I got my High Life.
Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we're this is Zach Oats again, not Sack Boats.
Yeah, not Sack Boats. Yeah.
Got a little gold flake.
Sack Boats is the one that
does the fun stuff.
Yeah, does the fun stuff. Yeah, the unfiltered stuff. Yeah. Yes, that's the good stuff.
You want to talk about my ghost experience?
Yes, yeah. We were talking about that a little bit ago. Yeah.
So, we on a couple podcasts before, you've talked about ghosts and stuff like that before. So, I guess to start off, I'll tell my personal story, and then we'll talk about what happened to me and Alec.
Yeah.
And Alec will jump in on that one. But When I was younger, like 18, 19, I was at home eating lunch by myself at the kitchen table, and the basement door just slammed. Bless you, Baron.
Bless you, man.
He can sense the ghosts in the room.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
So the basement door just slammed real hard. And my first thought was, where's the giraffe in the house? And, I went searching, couldn't find anything.
Yep. Where's the giraffe?
Where's the giraffe? So this would only happen to me and my brother. I mean, my stepmom worked at home all day and never had it happen. We asked her. She's like, no, it doesn't happen to me. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, I'm in college. I'm in my first rental house that I lived in. And outside of the room was a street light. So we put blackout shades up, but I had a beagle. And I'd leave the door open so he could go in and out as he pleased. And one night I was laying in bed and tossing and turning a little, and I happened to look towards the doorway. Now, mind you, when I was 10, we lost my mom to leukemia, and I think I said that a little earlier in the episode. But this like matte black feminine figure, no facial features, no hair, nothing like that, about 5'3", is standing in the doorway. And I'm staring at it, and I kind of blink. And when I blinked, it was on the bedside, on the opposite side of the bed of me, staring at me, which made me jump. And I ended up kind of chalking it up to I was just tired. So weird things would happen. Paint cans would get knocked off of shelves. I chalked that up to mice, stuff like that. Fast forward to me coming home, and again, doors are opening and closing on their own. At this point, I've gotten so accustomed to it that I just say shit like, can you not? I'm trying to do something here.
Yeah.
Or, I'm just like, oh, I got a ghost, whatever. So last year, I was at a friend's cabin near Green Bay, and the sleeping arrangement was my buddy and his girlfriend in one room, 2 girls in another room, 2 girls in another room, and then me and my buddy in the living room sleeping. So we happen to be the first ones awake, and we decide, oh yeah, we're going to make some coffee, and one of the girls from the other room rolls out, and we're like, oh, good morning, how'd you sleep? And she goes, yeah, not good. And we go, what do you mean? She goes, the whole night we felt like something was watching us, and we saw something. I go, oh, did it happen to be a 5'3" matte black feminine figure? And she just gets wide-eyed. And she goes, how did you know? I said, oh, you met my ghost. And that was the first time it had ever showed itself to somebody else in my vicinity.
Yeah.
So I come back home, and I'm laying in bed one night, and I got the blankets over my head, and I'm trying to watch a YouTube video just to help me fall asleep. Yep. And I feel somebody essentially sit down on the bed. And when I was younger in high school, it wasn't uncommon for my dad at like 5 in the frickin' morning to come in my room and just like sit down and try to hold a conversation with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my first reaction was just, Dad?
Yeah.
And nothing responded. So as I started to lift the blanket slowly, the bed started to depress, and it was gone. So I had a Google Home in my room, and I could hear something whispering my name in the middle of the night. And that's the point where it kind of spooked me.
Yeah.
So my current fiance, she had kind of brought up that ghosts haunt places. Demons haunt people. And that's when it all clicked.
Yeah, that when you said that to me earlier, that was, that kind of like hit me too, because I never even thought of it that way. That's, it's very wise of her.
Yeah. So it clicked, why did it look like my mom, who is 5'3",
right,
feminine, and it was trying to get close to me, and that's when it started whispering my name and sitting by me. That's when it was really getting
trying to like
close enough.
Lure you. Kinda.
Exactly. It wanted me to believe
Trust
it was
you.
my mom.
Yeah.
To which I had a conversation with someone about it, and they had mentioned, they were kind of into spiritual stuff, and they said, if you really believe, people on the other side, in the other dimension, that is the afterlife, will come to you in your dreams. I've had that dream where it was, essentially a white light at the end of this massive, unbounded room that was just graying out to black. And my mom came up to me and gave me a hug and just said, "Everything's going to be okay." And I woke up and that was it. This was in the physical world that we live in, and that's what spooked me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, that was my ghost story. But we have another one, which I'll invite Alec to.
Yeah, I think I said already. We got the live studio audience. We got a few people here. If any of you guys want to jump in at any point and you guys have stories, feel free to. But yeah, I'll hand the mic over to Alec and you guys can kind of tell your story.
All right.
Just to interject on that last one, I think I might be telepathic here, but when you said you went to bed listening to YouTube video or watching YouTube videos, I should say, did you by chance watch a 12-hour loop of uncut vacuum cleaner noises?
What? What?
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. You told me that before.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck?
No, I remember one time you were like, yeah, I think we were asleep and we were trying to go to sleep somewhere, and you're like, oh, this is what I listen to before bed. You just like pull out YouTube and it's just like a vacuum cleaner noise, like,
yeah.
I'm like, okay. Right. So that's what we went with.
But
he just falls asleep to the sound of sucking, I guess.
Yeah. But so Alec and I have this story, and we can back each other up on this. But we're driving in my old truck down some road somewhere between Hampshire and Genoa.
Before this, I don't even think I really believed in ghosts.
Yeah.
To be honest, I thought it was all hocus pocus.
Oh yeah.
And this kind of opened my eyes a little bit.
Yeah. So we're driving down the road, and I'll let you tell. I'll tell what I saw, and then you tell what you saw. So what I saw was a mist on the side of the road, just kind of floating, and it wasn't like it was over a storm drain. It was just a mist. And you saw...
Well, I just to back that story up a little bit. So we used to just drive around all the time, just looking for places. When you're 16, you haven't really gone out and you get your license. You just start driving places. So we would drive everywhere and learn new places and explore. And we were going just down some 2-lane country road out in the middle of nowhere, farm country, just some cornfields, bean fields. And we're driving along. And I remember it being somewhat of an overcast day. Maybe it rained that morning or something. And it was getting closer to evening. It was pretty close to sundown. From what I remember, anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember it, too.
Yeah, and so we're cruising down, and like I said, it was like light overcast, nothing crazy, and we're coming up to these railroad tracks from what I remember, and like before we get to the railroad tracks, there is this like this fog, and we start to drive into it, and it's pretty quick, but I remember right when we got into the fog, I saw like to the right side, like where the passenger side headlight is, there was like a white silhouette of like a woman, like a figure there. And I remember we drove straight through the person, or, what looked like a person. Obviously, it wasn't like a real person. You could tell it was like some type of like silhouette, like mist-like looking person. And we drove straight through it. And I remember it was really quiet. And I looked over to you, and you looked back at me, and I'm like, and then I don't even think we say anything for like a minute.
Yeah.
And then like a minute later, I was like, "Did you see that?" And you're like,
I thought I was the only one. That's literally my response was, I thought I was the only one who saw that.
It was like in the truck.
It passed
through the truck.
Yeah, like through Alec.
Like it had almost like a feeling to it.
Yeah.
Like when you drive through fog, there's no feeling to it. It almost felt like the fog carried through the truck.
Yeah.
Like through the cab of the truck.
No, I swear to God, I saw it like hit you in the face and go out the back of the truck.
Super strange.
Yeah. It was.
You guys were sitting like side by side.
Like
We were both kind of in the front of the truck. He was driving, I was passenger. We were the only two people in the truck.
Yep.
It was just very strange, and that's really the only true encounter I think I've had where I could, and I'll tell people like all the time now, like that was legit. I saw what I believe is a ghost, And before that, I didn't really believe in him. So
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I can back that story. I was right next to him when it happened, and it happened.
Jeez. Fuck yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's yeah, it's not easy to say these kind of stories because it's you know, you can only like vouch for yourself, or like you guys, you got each other, saw the same thing, similar to JJ and I's story.
Yeah,
we saw a very similar thing. Like you were saying too, like the 1800s kind of white dress girl.
Yeah.
Weird how that, like a similar kind of, you know, shape or entity, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it is kind of tough to talk about these things because you never know how people are going to take these stories or look at you. And another kind of same thing along these lines are the whole like alien UFO things.
Yep.
And I remember talking to you earlier too. You said that you
I have seen
experiences
something that was unexplainable by like modern science.
Okay, you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, so when I was flight instructing, we would have to do essentially reposition flights. So plane was broken somewhere, we had to go pick it up, kind of thing. And a guy that I worked with and I were flying out to DeKalb, and it was nighttime, and we were looking up at the sky because we had nothing better to do, and we saw a string of lights. And at first we were like, oh, those must be satellites. But then they were not moving. So we're like, oh, maybe it's like a string of like a military convoy at high altitude. What happened next was the lights were here. They darted essentially to like, if you were to turn your head 90 degrees right, they darted over there, darted back to the center, and disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, and these were like up in the stars, like a string of lights. There was probably about like 12 of them.
Oh, really?
A string of lights.
Huh. So were you flying?
Yeah,
you were
I was
in the
flying.
Air?
I was in the air when that happened.
Oh, how high? What was your altitude?
We were only like 5,000-6,000 feet.
Okay.
It wasn't that
Gotcha.
high, but
Wow, that is wild. So they like in the blink of an eye from like they were right in front of you, kind of, and then they just shot
over to the side.
Okay.
And then shot back and then disappeared.
What was your heading and where were they positioned?
We were heading 270, which is west, due west. We were heading 270, and they shot to north, and then they shot back to west, and then they were just gone.
That's wild.
Yeah, so
so it was like white lights?
Yeah, just white lights.
All of them?
String of white lights.
Look just like satellites.
Just like satellites. That's exactly what we thought they were immediately, but they weren't moving, and that was what we were kind of confused about.
Yeah. So like with your experience as a pilot, like could you give me an estimate on what their altitude could have been?
Oh God,
No idea.
they would have been in the exosphere.
Oh, okay.
So for those of you that aren't aware, the Earth has essentially 3 atmospheres in it. There's the troposphere, which is where we live, where 90% of weather occurs. The stratosphere, which is like higher altitudes, usually right around, and it depends on the location. Near the equators, it's a little closer. Near the poles, it's a little further. But usually somewhere between 45 to 50 or to 60,000 feet is where the stratosphere starts, and then after that is the mesosphere, which is kind of like the edge of space. So that's where like your SR-71 is flying around, stuff like that. And then you go into the exosphere, which is everything space. It's space itself.
Yeah.
These were definitely in the exosphere.
Okay.
Yeah, they were very, very high up.
Huh. And how long were they there? Was it like
It was a solid minute that we were looking at them and talking about it, and then they shot over. And
so you got a good long.
We got a good long stare. Like, you know, there's an illusion called autokinesis, which in the aviation world is essentially if you stare at a light for long enough, it'll appear to move. Mm-hmm. This wasn't autokinesis. This was like straight up. It just moved, moved back, and vanished.
Huh. And so when it moved the first time, it was like, did it pause for a period of time when it? So it was like in the blink of an eye, whoop,
Yeah.
just like pops over there.
Yeah.
And then it paused for.
Oh, we saw it. We saw it shoot across. Like
So it was
wasn't-
in a line, like a string kind of formation.
Yep.
And it moved like that, like it was pop in the same formation.
Yes, exact same formation, just almost as if like it had just rapidly shot across, at the speed of light essentially, and
Okay.
it was quick.
And then popped right back to where it was,
Mm-hmm.
and then shot straight up.
Just shot straight out, gone.
Okay.
Light's gone.
Not up, just out.
Out.
Just
Yeah.
gone.
Well, relative because we were
Sure.
looking up, it shot
Oh, yep.
that way, but
Gotcha.
But yeah, it just the
That's
lights were
wild.
gone. It was that was the only real kind of UFO thus far in my career that I've experienced.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when we're flying airliners, we're kind of sitting there talking, just kind of monitoring our gauges, making
Yeah.
sure everything's working right. We're not really looking outside like we did when I was a VFR pilot.
Right. Oh, yeah. I guess that makes. I wanted to ask you this actually, just with your time and experience in the air as a pilot. Like I figured there had to have been something that you've seen.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring that up, but yeah, that's crazy. I never even really thought about that too. Just being like IFR, not really looking out as much as you were if you were VFR. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I figured you'd. Yeah. I've never flown IFR, so.
I'll have to take you sometime.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot more daunting when you think about it than it
Yeah.
really is. Once you kind of get comfortable, it's just everything you do VFR except staring at a screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems weird. It's like more like a video game, except your life is actually affected.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, you really
You
gotta
either
trust your
win
equipment.
this level or you don't. You don't ever play again.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, and that's your only one.
That's the only one. I mean, obviously you've heard a ton of stories from different
Yeah.
Air Force and military pilots and stuff like that have seen other things. Like I think there was a disc that
Yep.
somebody saw, and there's stuff out there. There's something out there.
Yeah, it's a crazy universe, and there's absolutely no way that we're alone.
No.
You guys think that moving forward, when we see stuff like this, and like we've had some type of, I guess, credibility to what we've been seeing in the past, and the government was always, it's satellites or this or that. But now I feel like moving forward, the answer for everything, the government's just going to say, just drones. It's just drones. Everything's going to be drones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're either they know more than us, or they don't want to look into it.
I mean, the government's keeping secrets from you. There's no surprise there.
But it's just, I feel like that's something that can so easily be pushed off now on drones, and with everybody having access to a drone,
Yeah.
nobody's going to really put any more time into these sightings.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very
Just
true.
a thought.
Yeah, that's a huge point. Yeah, and I bet a lot of what people think are sightings actually are drones. I mean, it's if you don't know what you're looking at, or if it's there's so many like scenarios where it could definitely very likely be a drone or a satellite, like you were saying too.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you think about it, like you look into history itself, anytime there was something new,
Yeah.
people didn't understand it, and
Yeah.
they kind of created theories based on that. A great one that I've heard the story before is, when the first car, like automobile, came out.
Yeah.
Guy takes his mom driving, and she is screaming, slow down, we're going too fast. They were going 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's because she wasn't used to that
riding
kind of speed.
horseback. That's as fast as you could go, pretty much, right?
Yeah. And now they're going 30, and
Yeah.
she's like, this is way too fast.
Yeah.
And, you just, sometimes you don't know what you're seeing.
Yeah. One thing to kind of like, to the drone topic is like, there's been like I think the first like UFO sighting was in like 1947, or at least the first like reported one.
Roswell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, from then on, like, obviously, like, it's like, obviously there wasn't drone technology back then, and it's like interesting that they've been seeing these things, and then it just kind of like hushed a little bit after. Like, I feel like there was a lot of sightings, and then it just like kind of got quiet all of a sudden. And now, like, we had that hearing recently where they're actually like admitting these things are in our airspace and we don't know what they are, and it could potentially be a threat.
Now, the issue with that, though, is, a lot of times the credibility, like we were talking about, the credibility is kind of lacking.
Yeah.
And ironically, we did have drones in World War II.
Really?
Not the drones that we think of nowadays where, quadricopters with cameras and stuff, but that you can actually, if you go to the DeKalb airport, you can see the very first drone that was built in America at the piano factory across the street from the airport, or what was a piano factory.
Really?
Yep. They, basically the British started it. They figured out how to remote control a plane. And from there, America kind of picked up on that technology because they were our allies. And the first drone flew in DeKalb, Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They built it in the piano factory to make it look kind of inconspicuous.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yep.
Dang. And you can see that now?
Yeah, you can go check it out and view it.
What?
It's a neat piece of history.
That's awesome. Dang. Yeah, we'll have to go check that out. That'd be really cool. What does it look like?
It just looks like a regular propeller airplane that has a bunch of electronics up in the cockpit instead of a person.
So they just took an airplane and then just
put servos in it, essentially, and got it flying on its own with the remote control.
That's so cool. Dang. Do they have the remote control still? What does that look like?
I don't know. I haven't seen that. So okay. the whole name drone, the British had a different name for it. It was something relating to bees. And
probably
the Americans thought about it, and they're like, well, we'll call it a drone, because a drone is essentially, and how actually a lot of insect, like colonizing insects work, is you have the queen, and then everybody else is a drone or a worker, so to say.
Yeah.
So we just called it drone.
Yeah.
It was a drone because there was no queen controlling it directly from the cockpit.
That's cool. Dang. You and your history.
I love history.
Yeah.
A fun one that I've really loved talking about is Henry Knox. You know, Fort Knox?
Yeah.
Henry Knox was he owned a bookstore, and he was good friends with Nathaniel Greene, who was a young guy that was coming in and learning about military history through books and stuff like that. So Washington, when the Revolution first started breaking out, he got them to be essentially like generals for, or not generals, but what do you call it? I can't even think of the name right now, but he had them in a commanding position.
Okay.
And in the beginning of the war, when the British were holding Boston, Henry Knox went up to Washington and said, hey, I know we don't have a lot of guns. I know we don't have a lot of gunpowder, but Fort Ticonderoga has guns that were left over by the French. He's like, I'll go get them. And Washington, thought that was kind of like a wild idea. It wasn't going to work, but he's like, you know what? This is our only hope.
Yeah.
Go get them. So months and months later, Henry Knox shows up with these guns and a heroic story of how he had to use teams of oxen to bring them up mountainsides and stuff. Shit. Like, these were big cannons.
Yeah.
And they used those to bombard the British in Boston and kick them out of Boston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's freaking cool.
Yeah, it was a cool story. There's another story about how when we made it to New York, which, by the way, in American history, if you've ever learned about what happened at New York with the British, we got our asses whooped multiple times. We had to retreat out of New York.
Oh, wow.
But when we got to New York, they knocked over a statue of the king and somebody had the quote that they were going to melt the statue down in order to assimilate the lead with the heads of the enemies.
What the fuck?
They melted it down for musket balls.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
They melted a statue of the king to shoot musket balls at the British heads.
Wow.
Yeah. That's American patriotism right there. That's a kick you in the face. We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have lost, but I think they're still driving Mini Coopers, and we got Peterbilt, so.
Hell yeah. Big old Mack truck on the road. Man, every time I see a cab over, I about cry just out of excitement. I love cab overs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I really got there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing those stories. I'm glad we got that on, and they're very with your experience and knowledge. It was an interesting thing that I wanted to bring up, and thank you for sharing, especially with the ghost stories too, because again, that stuff's not easy to talk about, especially on a podcast. You never know how people are going to take that. So thank you for
Of course. I mean, it's a mind hiking podcast.
Absolutely.
We're hiking through the mind. And,
Fuck yeah.
it's
Quite the adventure.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you repping the brand now.
Oh, heck yeah. I'll wear this every day.
Fuck yeah.
This is going on my bag. I could see the holographic. So yeah, if if those start releasing, y'all, there's mind hiking gear to
Fuck yeah.
to rock, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, those ones are going to travel the whole country, aren't they?
Oh,
Fly
heck
all
yeah.
over.
They'll be all over the place.
Fuck
and,
yeah.
I got 4, so spread them around.
Yeah, spread them.
Take a look at this podcast.
Spread it like a good pair of legs, right?
Yeah, thank y'all for tuning in for my my little thing here today, and I've spread my legs enough for for the whole world. So
Yeah.
I'll turn it back over to Brody here.
Fuck yeah. All right. Yeah. No, we'll wrap it up right here. I'll do some clipping and figure out how this is gonna come together. But yeah, thank you so much for hopping on. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Brody. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thanks for staying the whole time. I know we got a lot of content here, so rock on, and we will see you guys next week.
Rock and roll.